In our top stories tonight, the acting Prime Minister takes a tour as some Barbadians were allowed to shop for essentials. The COVID czar clears up some confusion concerning the alphabetical system. Illegal non-nationals urged to seek medical assistance if they become sick. And in sports, the IPL postponed for a second time.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC Newsnight, starting now.
Good evening, I'm Lisa Broom. Thanks for joining us. We start tonight with news that the new shopping and banking measures for Barbados have officially gone into effect from today. CBC News was on hand as Acting Prime Minister Santia Bradshaw and Labour Minister Colin Jordan stopped by a few establishments to ensure systems were running smoothly. Lorna Jones has more.
People with surnames beginning with C, D, E, and F were first up under the new measures and headed out to supermarkets, banks, and other establishments to conduct their business. Over at Trimart Rendezvous, Operations Manager Peter Chase described how the morning went.
We are doing our sanitizing inside and out, making sure that customers are happy. We're asking them to be mindful of the customers outside and limit their shopping time. And pushing through to make sure that everyone within the category this morning is able to shop.
Despite the long lines, some shoppers were happy to purchase their items in person.
It's good because I'm all masked up and so forth, so it's good.
It's good to be out of the house, to be honest with you. I don't motivate.
It's a great feeling, and people are observing the distance, which is very important.
They let us know what was at the top of their grocery list.
Fruits and vegetables.
Fruits and vegetables.
Acting Prime Minister Santia Bradshaw and Labour Minister Colin Jordan toured Trimart, Massey Rendezvous, Republic Bank and Carter's in Wildy, and Popular Discounts in Kendall Hill to get his sense of how the alphabetical system was working.
We are asking as well that you adhere to the alphabetical system. It has been put in place, and I think it is working considerably well across most of the entities. There will always be people who will try to breach the system, but we have asked, and I think we've seen for the most part people are actually willing to adhere to the system, and I really want to thank those Barbadians who are so doing.
The acting Prime Minister, however, noted the supermarket owners had voiced a concern related to reusable shopping bags.
There's a feeling that obviously we're putting at risk a number of the supermarket packers, and so we've taken the decision to ensure that the plastic bag operators and manufacturers in the country are given the opportunity during this period to be able to supply the supermarkets and the other entities that are open with plastic bags, because we believe that the risk to the shopper as well as to the supermarket packer as well, in all the persons in the various entities, that the risk will be greatly reduced by us being able to use plastic bags.
Meanwhile, both Acting Prime Minister Bradshaw and Labour Minister Jordan commended the frontline workers for their efforts in this time.
We are in an uncomfortable time. Workers feel under threat to some degree from the virus, but what we've seen suggests that they understand their position, they understand their role in the country's well-being.
On Thursday, it will be the turn of those with surnames beginning with G, H, I, J, and K to do their shopping at supermarkets, fish markets, and hardware stores between 8 and 11 a.m. and banking between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. Healthcare and other essential workers can also shop at these establishments and do their banking between 1 and 4 p.m. on Thursday. Lorna Jones, CBC News.
Thanks, Lorna. And the acting Prime Minister's full statement will be carried immediately after the news, and that will be followed by the program An Act of Great Courage, which commemorates the 1816 Bussa Uprising. COVID czar Richard Carter has cleared up some confusion concerning the alphabetical system. While speaking on the combined services of CBC's Q100.7 FM and 94.7 FM, hosted by Admiral Nelson and Kimberly Skeet, he outlined that Barbadians with double or even triple-barreled surnames must use the last name for that system.
Someone called me last night or contacted me to correct me. I suggested that persons use the first part of the double barrel name, and the correction has come, well, you should use the second part. So in your case, Sandiford Clark, you should actually use the Clark, because that would be consistent with your name and with your husband's name.
And he explained the reason for it.
It would make sense to use the Clark rather than the Barrow, simply because you want to restrict the movement of households that are actually doing, or persons who are doing this. So if you were Barrow Clark, it would mean, and you chose Barrow, it would mean that there would be a day for you. Well, B and C actually don't go together.
Don't go together.
Yeah, so it would be a day for you, and then Clark would be a day for your husband if both of you are in the same household, which doesn't make sense. So it makes more sense to actually use the second part of the double barrel name, which would more than likely be consistent between yourself and your husband.
Mr. Carter also underscored that if you're doing shopping on behalf of someone else, you can only do it on the day that is designated to you. And he also pleaded with Barbadians to continue to adhere to curfew regulations and practice good hygiene, as he delivered some sobering statistics on Barbados' mortality rate.
We have had 5 deaths out of the 72 or 73 cases. That represents a mortality rate of 6.8%. If everybody in Barbados got COVID, a mortality rate of 6.8% would cause 20,000 deaths. Now, the mortality rate for COVID worldwide is basically around 1%. Even at 1%, if everybody in Barbados got COVID, that would be 3,000 deaths. Now, I ask the public of Barbados, are we prepared to accept 3,000 deaths as a result of COVID-19?
Mr. Carter says the projections show that people must take responsibility for their lives.
Some of the models are telling us that even if we do everything that we are being asked to do in terms of our physical distancing. So we've had some epidemiologists from the University of the West Indies, and thank God for them, providing us with some advice and some guidance and some modeling. They are saying even in a best case scenario of people following directions and so on, we could end up with over 100 deaths. And this virus thrives on exceptions. So that one person say, well, let me just go out and exercise outside, or let me nip down to the supermarket outside of my time, or the elderly person who leaves home, or the person who goes into an elderly care home where we've seen explosions of cases and that virus gets loose in an elderly care home. Those exceptions are what could actually break us in terms of the numbers.
And over in Jamaica, the Musicians Union has appointed a COVID-19 czar. The post of coronavirus response chair is one which was recently conceptualized by the Jamaica Federation of Musicians and affiliated unions. And it's all in an effort to put in place a structured approach to handling the effects of the coronavirus pandemic on its membership. Contemporary classical singer Rory Frankson has been given the job, and he told CBC News the organization has a goal to reach across the country with the timely message for musicians and creatives that there is a body which offers a space for collective voice while showing the value of being part of a professional network.
We recognize that many musicians and creatives are contributing to the world of content creation. So it is also our efforts to push for grant funding to encourage these activities. Additionally, we're working on educational campaigns to ensure that in this time where members are at their homes, we can expand their knowledge base, we can support their efforts of practicing and putting their talents to good use, so that on the other side of this pandemic, we are coming back strong.
Mr. Frankson says the union will provide financial support to its members.
There are a number of things that we are working on that we anticipate will be helpful to our community. One of those things is a stimulus relief grant specifically tailored to the creative and entertainment sectors. We believe that not only have we lost our incomes, but we've lost the opportunity to earn. And in this time of uncertainty, that can be scary.
Non-nationals living in Barbados illegally are being encouraged to seek medical attention if they're feeling unwell. This advice from Home Affairs Minister Edmund Hinkson, who acknowledges that such people may fear deportation if they seek the necessary help. However, he says this should not be a consideration now as the country seeks to stop the spread of COVID-19.
We are appealing to those persons not to think about deportation at this time. If you are feeling unwell, seek medical attention under the relevant protocols and procedures that the government of Barbados has established. The reality is that virtually every border in the world is closed at present, whether those which are within CARICOM countries or outside of this region. So the issue of deportation at the present time is not on the table, and certainly will not be on the table within the foreseeable future until borders open again.
Minister Hinkson notes that government last year instituted a policy that CARICOM citizens living in Barbados but without the requisite documentation legal status can access primary public health care free of cost. He says the Immigration Department has also given a reprieve to people who require work permits or extensions of stay during the curfew period.
Of course, as we all know, the government of Barbados has extended the curfew now until early May, and therefore clearly the Immigration Department will put back that date, by which you should apply from the 15th of May to give a further extension for those whose work permits expire during the time of the curfew, or permissions to stay in Barbados, or any other grants of permission or extensions which may need to be made during this month. Don't worry about it. You will have time during May to apply.
Who concerns the COVID-19 pandemic may severely impact some preparations for back to school if it continues on its current track. So far, one garment factory, Yankee Garments, has encountered delays sourcing some materials for the new schools they were hoping to cater for this year. However, Assistant Manager Anna Haggerty says they have good supplies of fabrics for the schools they usually supply.
We begin the production of school uniforms the year in front. We begin usually October, November, and then we close for Christmas holidays and start back up in January. It obviously means that while we have started, there are going to be likely delays in again, the supply of school uniforms. The receiving of fabrics, which is all, purchased overseas, that has also been delayed. There are several implications, but obviously when we do receive fabrics and we are given the go-ahead to start production again, we will be working full steam ahead on the back to school, production in anticipation of what will happen over the next few months.
Amid the uncertainty and fear following the outbreak of the coronavirus in China, Barbados has ensured its citizens living and studying in that Asian country were not only accounted for, but safe. Ambassador to China Francois Jackman says the embassy has been in constant contact with Barbadians, with many sharing their experiences of the lockdown following the outbreak of the virus.
There was a lot of discussion of what that experience was like, and there was a lot of advice on what you could and couldn't do, what were ways of getting around the difficulties that one was facing, ways of ordering food, ways of complying with the rules. The community really reached out to one another to share this. Even you might think simpler things like sharing books and music to pass the time away.
Ambassador Jackman shared the story of 3 Barbadian students stuck in Wuhan during the lockdown, saying they were put through the most difficult tests, but he suggests their experience is something from which Barbadians can draw strength.
The moral of that story, I think, is that these are in difficult times. You really have to be patient, you have to stay calm, and you have to continue to communicate so that if you get information that you're unsure about, you verify it. If you hear something that's not clear, you reach out and you check on whether or not this is in fact the case. And I think that's one of the most important things, certainly, that I have learned in my time here in less strict lockdown in China, which is to be really patient, to carefully analyze the information that you're given, and to act with care and calm.
The Insurance Corporation of Barbados has made significant technological adjustments to ensure its customers can still conduct business easily through the COVID-19 pandemic. Corporate Communications Specialist Charlene Brown tells CBC News ICBL's full team has been working remotely since March 23rd, as it was important the company moved quickly to reduce the risk of exposure to its customers and employees.
ICBL's priority was to ensure that our customers were not inconvenienced by this change. We are committed to providing the same high level of service that they are accustomed to while we work remotely. ICBL has employed several convenient online payment options for our clients, including through our website icbl.com using online banking, SurePay online, and bank-to-bank payment transfers, which eliminate the need for them to venture out to transact their business. With ICBL, customers can now also download their signed 30-day cover notes from our website and print them at their homes. And for added convenience, we send a copy to the Barbados Revenue Authority on their behalf.
Here's a tip from Cooperators General Insurance.
This tip of the day is brought to you by Cooperators General Insurance Company Limited. Insurance the way you want it to be.
Wash your hands often with soap and water for at least 20 seconds, especially after you have been in a public place or after blowing your nose, coughing, or sneezing. Cooperators General Insurance, encouraging you to stay home and stay safe.
Jamaica's COVID-19 tally jumped to 105 after 32 positive cases in less than 24 hours. Given this development, the parish of St. Catherine was placed on lockdown for 7 days as of 5 a.m. this morning until 5 a.m. on April 22nd.
The new cases comprise of 5 males and 27 females who range in ages from 19 to 70 years old. The cases are from St. Catherine, Kingston, and St. Andrew. They bring to 34 the number of cases under investigation. Of the remaining 71 confirmed cases, 31 are imported, 34 are contacts of a confirmed case, and 6 are local transmission. The vast majority of the 32 additions, indeed 31 of the 32, are linked to a call center located in the Portmore area, Ulrika Intervention. This facility has a staff complement based on the staff registry of some 787 workers. We have so far in our intervention 258 individuals have been interviewed and sampled. 65 of those tests have come back.
In Grenada, Tobias Clement has received his instruments of appointment as the opposition leader. Clement severed ties with the ruling New National Party in late 2019. Well, Grenada was without an official opposition leader since the NNP swept the polls in the last 2 general elections, winning back-to-back all 15 seats in the House of Representatives in 2013 and 2018. We hear more in this GBN report.
Clement was presented with his instruments of appointment from Governor General Dame Cecilia Grenada. In a statement issued Tuesday evening, Clement said he's not naive about the demands of his new journey.
Like everyone else, and being part of a winning team, I saw myself as a member of government assisting my constituents with their daily lives. But life had other plans for me. I'm called upon to challenge the government and to outline alternative ways of developing Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique.
Taking up his position as opposition leader during the COVID-19 pandemic, Clement had some cutting words for Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell. His plan, he said, is to lay before the Parliament new and innovative ways of conducting the nation's business and moving Grenada forward.